What up, Scream fans? I wanted to do a review based on the new Scream film that dropped over the weekend. I went to see it on Friday night, stayed off social media for the 2 days prior just to make sure I didn't see any spoilers. That being said, if you have not seen the new film just yet, I recommend not watching this video any further as there will be tons of spoilers. Now, overall, I thought the movie was very entertaining. I did enjoy it. The cast was absolutely phenomenal. They had a great cast of actors. That being said, even though I did enjoy the film, I did, however, leave the theaters quite disappointed. Very mixed emotions on this new installment. And I will go into as of why a little bit later. Let's start from the very beginning. So, in the beginning of the film, the opening scene, we see the character of Tara, played by the phenomenal actress Jenna Ortega. She was absolutely amazing in this film. So it starts off kind of paying homage to the original Scream, where we see Drew Barrymore receiving a phone call. She's home alone. Same being said here. Tara receives a phone call. She's home alone. We think the call is from, well, she thinks the call is from her mother's new boyfriend. The person that is on the other line is Roger Jackson, who plays the voice of the character, Ghostface. And another thing that I really appreciated in this film is that we actually we hear Roger Jackson a lot more in this film than previous films, more of his voice. He is, in fact, the one that's played Ghostface in every film. The actors are always different, but it's always his voice on the other line on the phone. So I really appreciated that we got to hear his voice more throughout in the phone calls that he makes, especially in the opening scene. And this opening scene is actually my second favorite in the entire franchise. I thought it was that good. It's right behind the first for me. We see Ghostface making the phone call to Tara, asking her questions, trying to play his little game. And the last question he asks her, he's asking her questions about the Stab movies. He asks her, who was the original killer in the first Stab movie? And she responds, Billy Loomis. And Ghostface tells her that is not correct. That the answer was Billy Loomis and Steve Mocker. So right here they mentioned Steve. So that could be a prelude to, oh, Steve is the killer in this one. So she gets the question wrong, and Ghostface makes it into the house, so he's probably in the house already. There's a chase scene. He ends up stabbing her multiple times. Like, quite gruesome opening scene. Not as gruesome as the first, but I predicted that Tara would be the final girl at the end of the film. And honestly, after seeing her get stabbed that many times, I didn't think she was making it past the opening credits. But she does, which I am glad. And that's another thing I really liked about this film, is that they changed that. Usually, the opening scene, whoever's in the opening dies. And they changed it here where the character actually lives. So, next, we bring in Tara's sister Sam, who has apparently left town somewhat years ago. She comes back to town, and we find out that she is the daughter of Billy Loomis. Now, I'm just going to go into what I had 4 predictions for this film before going to see it. Number 1 being that one of the core 3, either Sydney, Gail, or Dewey, was going to not make it out of this one alive. My guess was that they were going to end up killing Dewey. My second prediction was that Tara would end up being the new final girl. If they're going to make more Scream movies in the franchise, that she would be the one to continue it on. So that was my second prediction, which she did make it past the opening scene, even though in the trailer they made it seem like she was not going to. My third prediction was that Matthew Lillard would be reprising his role as Stu Macher. And this was the one prediction that I needed to come true in this movie. Fourth prediction was that the other killer was either going to be one of the twins, which the twins in this film are supposed to be relatives of Randy Meeks. They played by the actors Mason Gooding and Jasmine Savoy Brown, playing Chad and Mindy Meeks. I actually really did enjoy the character of Mindy Meeks, as she kind of took on Randy's role in this film. We'll get into that a little bit later. But fourth prediction was that the killer was going to be one of the twins, or that they were going to make it like Sydney ended up getting pregnant after the first film and ended up giving her son or daughter up for adoption because they were obviously Billy's kid and she did not want to raise Billy's child. I'm glad they did not go that route because I didn't want to see that happen, but I thought that was a thought that I had that they could have gone. I really, really appreciated what they did in this film as to how to incorporate Skeet Ulrich into having a part in this film. Sam, who is Tara's sister, comes to town with the secret that she is Billy Loomis's daughter, and she has visions of him. Like, I wouldn't say hallucinations, but she basically sees him talking to her, like envisions him. And she's taking medication to try to make these thoughts, or if he's actually talking to her and she's a little crazy, like try to make him go away, basically. But they brought Skeet Ulrich back for these hallucinations, and they had him in the same white bloody shirt as we last saw him in the original, and I just thought it was really amazing how they incorporated him into this film, and I really, really appreciated that. There was a lot of homage paid to the original in this film. We also hear the song Red Right Hand being played in the beginning of this film. This is a track that was in the original first 3 Scream films, but was not in the last one. So I thought that was also a nice touch that they brought this back for this film. So now we have been introduced to Tara, her sister, and Tara's group of friends, a close group of friends. One of them includes actor Dylan Minnette. He plays the character of Wes, which I also appreciate that he was named Wes, paying homage to the late, great Wes Craven. Wes Craven is probably my favorite horror director. Besides Scream and Nightmare on Elm Street, will be my second favorite horror movie. So many other amazing works under his name. Last House on the Left, People Under the Stairs, Red Eye, the list goes on. So yes, we have the character of Wes, who plays Judith's son. Judith, who was in the last film, was a deputy, while Dewey was the sheriff. In this film, we find out that Judy is now the sheriff. So now Sam has come back to town with her boyfriend, Ricky. They go and they seek out to find Dewey. Since the killer is on the loose, she's freaking out because she's Billy's daughter and she knows that she's the reason the killer is targeting her and her sister. So we see Dewey, and Dewey is no longer with Gail. Gail, we find out, is a weather reporter, or she's on the news in New York, and he still lives in Woodsboro and apparently got kicked off the force for drinking, which is quite sad. So Dewey ends up contacting Sydney to inform her of what's going on. He also contacts Gail, and we really only get one scene with Dewey and Gail in this film, which is kind of, it's sad. It's a very bittersweet reunion there. And Dewey does not make it through more of this film. So Dewey ends up deciding to help Sam and Ricky, even though he was not going to at first. They go and interrogate the friends group, because Dewey tells them it's always one of the friends, even though he already informed Sam earlier that it's usually the love interest, which she ignores. So they go and they go to interrogate Tara's close-knit group of friends, including the twins, who are Randy's niece and nephew, Wes, who is Chief Judy's son, and their friends Amber and Liv. Randy's sister also makes an appearance. They go to her house, and there's a room dedicated to Randy, the media room. And I actually thought that they're again paying homage to the original film. So they go to interrogate the group of friends, and Mindy Meeks, Randy's niece, basically takes over his role. And she starts going into who could be the killer and why, what not to do in a horror movie, how the new horror movies today have changed from things that would have happened in the past. She basically takes on his role. And I also really enjoyed her character in this film as well. Like, overall, I thought the cast was, yeah, up until this point, I was thoroughly enjoying this film. And honestly, this film could have very easily been my second favorite in the whole franchise, if not for what happens at the end. But I'm going to get to that. After this, they leave, and we now have a scene where Wes comes home, and Judith tells him she's going out to get sushi for them for dinner. So she leaves to go get the sushi, and she gets a phone call from Ghostface. This was a very heart-wrenching scene where the killer tells her that he's basically going to kill her son. So she turns the car around and is zooming, doing everything she can to try to get home before anything happens to her baby boy. She's running up those stairs, she's about to open the door, and then bam! Ghostface out of nowhere. Was actually not expecting that. Was actually expecting her to make it through the door, wondering what was happening inside the house. Did he actually get Wes? And she gets killed before she even makes it inside the house. Inside the house, Wes is just preparing the dinner table, waiting for his mom to bring dinner home. He's getting the plates, getting them drinks, and we're wondering when Ghostface is gonna pop out. They're playing that suspenseful music, he's opening doors, like where's Ghostface gonna pop out? He realizes someone could be in the house. He starts hearing noises. He sees that the front door is open. He's going to the front door, and I actually thought that he was going to find his mom dead. And I thought, I didn't expect him to meet his maker this soon into the movie, Dylan Minnette. Ghostface stabs him, and then stabs him through the neck. That, to me, I think was the most gruesome death in this film. Just that whole scene was just very heart-wrenching. Mother and son attacked, like both of them die, just, yeah. Leading up to the next scene, where Tara is now alone at the hospital because everyone is at the Hicks house since the chief and her son are both murdered. Dewey, Sam, and Sam's boyfriend go to the hospital to try and save Tara, to make sure nothing happens to Tara. And Dewey ends up shooting Ghostface. And this is the part how I knew I was right about my second prediction that he was going to die. He shoots him and then walks away, because why not, right? You know, make sure you get the others on the elevator, walk away. Goes back to shoot him in the head and ends up getting stabbed to death. Where the killer then says, "It's an honor." In that moment, I knew that the killer was definitely not an OG, definitely one of the newbies, because if it was somebody like Stu, they wouldn't have said, "It's an honor." Yeah. So, anyway, still enjoying the movie. Sydney ends up returning to town because Dewey has passed. She gets word of his passing. Gail is distraught, and rightfully so. Love of her life has just been murdered. It really sucks that we didn't get to see more of their interaction in this film. I feel like the core three weren't really shown as much as I thought they would have been, especially Sydney. I get, obviously, that there's a new trilogy probably in the works, or new films that will come out that won't have them in it, but being that this was the 25-year anniversary, I felt that they should have been in it as a little bit more than they were. So now Sydney meets Tara and Sam, and Sam wants to get her sister out of town, and Sydney tells them that they shouldn't run. So they're in the car trying to get to town, and Tara realizes she doesn't have her inhaler. So there's a party going on at character Amber's house, who is very close friend of Tara's. Amber's house is Stu Macher's old house. Amber is living in Stu's house. So once again, I'm hyped because something else that's leading to Stu. You hear him being mentioned in the opening scene that she didn't say Stu's name, she only said Billy was the killer. Now the party's at Stu's house. So I'm thinking that my third prediction is going to come to fruition, that Stu Macher is the killer, or one of the killers. Get to the party, get to the big reveal, complete and utter disappointment. The movie that could have easily been my second favorite in the entire franchise now drops down to fourth, in my opinion, in the rankings. I rank the films as 1, 4, 2, 5, and 3. I actually thoroughly enjoyed the last Scream installment because besides Billy and Stu, Emma Roberts is my favorite killer in the franchise. And I also really liked the cast that they chose for the last film as well. Hayden Panettiere, huge fan of hers. Kirby is one of my favorite characters in the series. So yeah, I was so hyped going into this movie, but also nervous because I really wanted to see them have Stu as the killer, and part of me thought that, they might not do that. This was the most lackluster, underwhelming killer reveal in the entire franchise. I personally did not care that either one of these people was the killer. And if you're trying to do old meets new, like you're paying all this homage to the original and incorporating all these new things, and it's flowing so well, like it really was like an amazing movie up until this point for me. How did you not have Matthew Lillard reprise the role of Stu Macher in this film? I know previously he was supposed to be brought back for, I believe it was Scream 3. He didn't need to be the killer in Scream 3. The last movie also didn't need to be the killer. He needed to be the killer in this film. There was no way that he could not be the killer in this film. Or at least one of them. They reveal Amber as one of the killers. Not surprised. They reveal Sam's boyfriend as one of the killers. Ricky. Okay. Totally fine. There's 2 killers now. I'm watching this and I'm still thinking, oh, they're doing something different. We've seen 1 killer. We've seen 2 killers. They're going to do 3 killers. Where's Stu? Nowhere. 25-year anniversary of the film. You have to bring one of the OGs back. I'm glad they didn't try to bring Billy back. Billy was definitely dead at the end of the first one. I mean, yes, a TV fell on Stu. He was stabbed multiple times. They could have worked around that. He should have been brought back to this film. He was the only one not to be shot in the head out of the killers. I mean, they could have done something. Amber moved into his house. They could have maybe made it where they somehow connected, or even Ricky. I mean, Ricky was kind of acting like, I guess, the comedic one out of this film, which was Stu in the first. I mean, Stu was my favorite character in the original film. Matthew Lillard was amazing in that movie. It just, to me, I don't see how you could do this film without Stu as the killer. You bring back the original core 3, and you have Dewey be killed by one of the newbies. In my opinion, it should have been Stu that took him out. And not even that. Neither one of these killers has anything remotely to do with Sydney whatsoever. So the first film, it's Billy and Stu. The second film, we get Mickey and Billy's mom. The third film, it's Sydney's brother. Fourth film, it's Sydney's cousin. This film, neither one of them have anything to do with Sydney, yet Sydney is brought back to help these people. No. Sydney should have been brought back because this had to do with Sydney's past as well. Stu should have been one of those killers. One of the killers should have been an OG and a newbie, not 2 newbies. For this film, this was basically a combination of old and new. The whole film, they're paying homage to the OG while bringing in new characters that can definitely continue the franchise without any of the core three being in it. Amazing cast. And we did see survivors. The twins survived, the two sisters survived, Tara and Sam. They can definitely carry on the series without any of the originals. But being that this one still had original characters and Sydney was still in this one, they could still bring Stu back. In the next film, they could bring him back in the film after if they make more. But no, he needed to be brought back for this movie. That would have just... everything would have come full circle if Matthew Lillard had reprised the role of Stu. Stu did not get the recognition he deserved in this film, and neither did Matthew Lillard. They found a way to bring Skeet Ulrich back, and Matthew deserved the same. Complete disappointment at the end of the day. So I will definitely be watching this film back. Maybe I will rank it higher the next time I see it. The disappointment in the theater of not seeing Matthew Lillard on that screen just, yeah. Stu should have been in this movie. Absolutely no doubt about it. But yep, that was my take. I really want to know what you think. Did this film meet your expectations? Did you enjoy it? How would you rank it as far as the other Scream films? What did you love about it? What did you not like about it? I want to know. So leave a comment down below, and thanks for watching.